All right, hello, everyone, and welcome to our final Bluejay Family Live panel of the fall semester. I'm Torian Walker, and I serve as Assistant Director here at the Office of Student and Family Support, and I'm excited to be the host for the first time during this live panel as we discuss how your student can prepare for finals. Tonight's panel will be an hour long, and it's recorded in case you want to check this out later on this week on our website. So just be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested. So before we launch off, let's take a minute or two to test our Q&A function. This is how we'll take questions from you all during our live panel. So let's go ahead and test it out by dragging our cursor down to the bottom where it says Q&A. And then let's share just where you all are tuning in from today. Okay, I see a couple of people from Texas. I see some individuals from Arizona. Hello. We have some locals in Omaha, some in Colorado, Denver. Wow, we have some people from all over the place. This is awesome. Thank you all for tuning in. Have some from Des Moines, Iowa. Okay, awesome. It's great to see where our Bluejay families are nested. And so keep on using that function if you have any questions during the panel while anyone is talking or anything, and we'll be sure to get back to those questions either after the panelist is speaking or once all the panelists are done and we're in the Q&A portion of our panel. Alrighty, so I wanted to move forward and take a moment to mention the office where I serve and share a bit about us. The Success Center houses the Office of Academic Success, as well as the Office of Student and Family Support. The Office of Student and Family Support is our hub for problem solving and features our Success Desk, which we call our one-stop shop model. Bluejays, families, faculty, and staff can call or email us or even stop by with help or needing help with problem solving and getting connected with resources. And we like to say, if you don't know what to do, call 1212. We're located in a Reiner Alumni Memorial Library on the lower level, and you can email us at family@creighton.edu or call us again at 402-280-1212. We also have our live panels, which you all are currently taking advantage of, as well as our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Lastly, we have our flagship resource for families called the Bluejay Family Portal, where you can be updated on all things Creighton. And this live panel will be posted on there once it is ready. Now, for our all-star introduction, I'll introduce our panelists who will spend time discussing tonight's topic, and then we'll take questions from the audience once everyone is done presenting. Our panelists tonight include Randy Bibbins Clark, Dr. Regina Taylor, Ann Hyman, and Olivia Dishno. They'll be sharing some tips and resources from their perspectives that will aid in empowering your Bluejay to soar through this final exam season. Now I'll turn it over to our first panelist, Randy Bibbins Clark, the Director of Academic Success.
Okay, here we are. Hello, everyone. I am, like Torian said, I'm Randy Bibbins Clark. I'm the Director of Academic Success here at Creighton in the Success Center. And I've been in this, I have been working in academic success for 10 years here at Creighton. So I have some pretty good years under my belt of helping students through finals, to finals and through finals. So I'm going to start with just a couple of logistical things, and I'm going to have a few tips for students because I know that we have some students here, and then I'll give some tips for families before I hand it over to Dr. Regina Taylor. All right. So, okay. So first of all, finals are right around the corner. So I just want you to kind of keep that in mind. We are, finals are December 4th through December 9th. And one thing to keep, just kind of be aware of is that's just only about 3.5 weeks away. It's not long. So we have the rest of this week, and then it's Thanksgiving. And when students come back, there's 1 week before finals. So typically, I think high school students and high school families have this mentality that you can start doing finals like a little bit after you come back from Thanksgiving break, because then you've got about a month until Christmas. So you have plenty of time, but that's really not the case here, because there won't be plenty of time. So it's really important to get started now if you haven't already done that. And again, we don't have a traditional dead week here for students. So that week after Thanksgiving, it is open to learning new material. They might have exams in some of their classes that week. So students have to be ready to move through that week as if it is a normal school week. So you can't just have that week set aside for just studying. So again, starting early is really important. This is exciting. And it's probably stressful a little bit, but it is possible to keep that stress manageable with some prep and maintaining a good perspective. All right, go ahead with slide. Okay, so some tips for students. I already said it, but start now. You should be working already on a finals study plan. You should know what you're going to be tested over and how you'll be tested in all of your classes, so that you can start to get organized. So you should be, if you don't already know, you should be looking to see when all of your finals are. And keep in mind that we don't do finals during your class times, students. Those are, we actually have a final schedule, which the QR code there will send you to. And the entire university follows the same exam schedule. So your final exam time is determined by like when your course meets. And it's pretty easy to figure out the grid on the registrar's page there. We want you to have talked to a faculty member or classmates to determine what your finals will be over. Will it be a cumulative exam or a unit exam? What percentage of your grade that's going to that the exam will count for? All those kind of details, so that when you're creating your study plan and when you start studying now, you know exactly what you'll be doing, and you can make sure that you're testing in the way you will be tested. So if you are going to be doing a lot of multiple choice questions, then you should be really going for detail and making sure that you've got a really high mastery of that information, doing practice exams if your professor provides those, looking through the back of your book and going over the back of your chapters and going over review questions. If you're writing essays, you should be practicing in that model. If you're going to do short answer, if it's a take-home exam, you want to know the details now so that you can move forward, again, feeling organized and kind of in control. It was really important to take care of your whole self during finals time. It is really, it can be a really intimidating time. It doesn't have to be super stressful if you are planning. Some students will kind of be ready for the challenge. Some students will feel a little bit stressed because these are kind of important moments. But we want you to know that eating, sleeping, and moving are really important, and sometimes even more important during this time, because you really need your whole brain to be available to you when you're studying and taking your exams. And getting enough sleep, eating nutritiously, and moving around, and making sure that you're keeping some of those other things in place that are helping you to stay healthy and well, it's even more important now. Also, I just want to say, to keep things in perspective, final exams are really important, but they are not the most important thing about you as a student. So it is an opportunity to show what you have learned over the course of the semester. It is, if you have studied some, you probably know more than you don't know. So you're going to go into an exam looking for opportunities to show what you know, rather than thinking about this as kind of a big trap to expose all the things that you don't know. And thinking about this as, we want you to take one exam at a time, one question at a time. This is an opportunity to show what you have learned. It's not some overall judgment of whether or not you are worthy of being here, whether you're a success or a failure, whether you will ever be a doctor again, like you're dreaming of, or any of those things. It is an exam, so keep that in perspective. Finally, we want you to use your resources, and on the next slide, there is kind of a list of those resources that are available to you. Creighton has lots and lots and lots of support. We have faculty members who want to meet with students, want to answer students' questions, are very supportive of first-year students and understanding the ways that you might be nervous. So get in there and talk to your faculty members, use your classmates and friends. You have a faculty advisor. You have program advisors. So if you're in SSS, or if you are in TSC 120, if you are in a scholarship, have a scholarship advisor. All of those people are people that you can go to during this time to help you utilize some of these resources and help you get prepared and answer your questions. In our Office of Academic Success, we have tutoring, which goes through December. I just had my thing up. December 1st. Because our tutors are students, so we allow them to study for their own finals once that's over. We have academic coaching, which goes through the end of the semester. Our success hubs are located in each of the first year residence halls. So Olivia, who you're going to hear from later, is in Graves Hall, along with Rebecca Biley, who is the professional academic coach in that office. We've got Becca in Swanson and Ryan McLaughlin, and then both Becca and Olivia share the space in Dagelman. So I will put a link to that schedule so you could see what those hours look like. We've got a writing center and a communication center if you need to write a speech and you need practice with that. Our library research consultants are an amazing resource that I feel is very underused, but every time I refer students there, they come back and say that was super helpful. That's also a great way to put a place and time to different pieces of, like if you have to write a paper or something like that, you have an appointment with a certain person to get started, and those people can help you get a list of resources or sources for a paper. It's what they do, so let them help. We also have student counseling services available to all students here, and our student accessibility services, who you'll hear from Ann Hyman here in a little bit. And then, of course, your family is a great resource too, and get them involved in the way that you kind of want them involved proactively. All right. So now some tips for parents. I've got a good one. So my top tip for families is that we want you to be a cheerleader, not a coach. So your student has professors, they have academic coaches, they have tutors, they have all of the things that we just talked about to kind of help them with the technical things that they need to do in their classes. And so they're there to do kind of that coaching job. And they don't really typically need or usually want their parents to help them with that kind of detail, with the studying, or step into that role that the instructor or the tutors usually fill, because they've got that. What they don't have out there is cheerleaders. And I was a longtime cheerleader and an 8-year cheerleading coach. So I know it's a very important job to be a cheerleader. They need people who kind of know what's going on and know the general outcome that we're looking for, that can just cheer them on and be a source of support. Like, you're doing great. We need to get that, kind of be aware and ask our students what they want from you, and then help them in the way that they want to be helped. We have, if we kind of overstep that, you can think about if you are at a kid's basketball game and the kid has a coach telling them what to do, and then you can hear that kind of loud parent in the background, like giving their kid instructions, and it can be really confusing, and the student doesn't know what to do. So we want to eliminate that confusion for them by just being their cheerleader during this time. One of the things that you could talk about over Thanksgiving break is ask them what they need from you. And then again, just do that. If you're going to kind of be that support, you can set the boundary ahead of time. And if they say, I don't really want anything, it makes me too stressed when you call me and I don't want to always have to talk about school, then respect that. If they say, I need a little nudging, can you help me with this? Do it set a way that you're going to help, and then do just that. We want you as families to know what resources are available. So that list that I just showed, one of the ways that, again, you can be supportive is to point your students to those resources. If you're not sure, you can contact 402-280-1212 and ask what those resources are, and we will give them to you so that you can give them to your students, or you can send your student our way. We already kind of talked about those healthy habits, which are so important. Kind of to be mindful in your messaging is really important to help your kid stay positive. Again, we know that this is a really important time, but it's not the most important time of their life. I mean, it's really, nothing is more important than their mental health and well-being. And sometimes too much pressure can really get to students, especially in this first semester of college when all of this is new. One way, again, that you can be supportive is to send encouraging notes and care packages if you can. Again, have a schedule for checking in. Just be there when you need them, or when they need you, and you may need them too. So on that, I am going to, I think, hand it over back to Torian.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Randy. I'm glad that you have pointed out the importance of taking care of yourself. That's really important. And that this isn't, the most important time of their life. This is very important, as you mentioned, but I do like that you mentioned those things. Now we'll pass the torch on to Dr. Regina Taylor, who will share some tips as a parent and as a student.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Dr. Regina Taylor, as Torian said. I have been a professor at Creighton for 8 years. I'm in my 9th year, and I'm also a parent of a student at Creighton. And so I see it preparing for finals from the perspective of a professor, an instructor, having students take a final, as well as someone who really wants their student to do well. So I'll start with the parent perspective, and I'll just go off of or reiterate some of the things that Randy mentioned. And so it's really hard to let go and let students do it by themselves. I can say that it has been really hard for me to allow my student to do things on his own. And so I echo that you are there to be a cheerleader for your student, but you can't necessarily do it for them on your own. They have to learn how to manage their time, have to manage the habits that they need to do to be healthy, manage their schedule. And so you're there to be a cheerleader. And one way you can encourage them is to remind them of when they've overcome challenges in the past. So if they, were on a sports team, or they were in some kind of club or something like that, how did they overcome challenges, at the end of the season, or, when they had a lot of things going on and they had to study for an exam? One of the ways that research says, and I'm a, social scientist, when people believe that they can do something, they often do well on whatever that task is. And one way that you can remind them or help them do well is to remind them of when they've succeeded in the past. And then if you have the resources or you have time, you can send them a care package. I always loved, when I was in college many, many years ago, receiving care packages from home. And I think my son would also say that he really enjoys receiving, little gifts or cards, really just money for food, but just little things just to remind them that we're thinking of them. I also encourage people, and this is one of the things that I do, and it may be encroaching on being more of a coach versus a cheerleader, but asking leading questions to help students come up with their own solutions. And so asking them, well, have you made a study schedule? Just to put that little bug in their ear that that's something that they should be thinking about. Maybe they hadn't thought of it before. Maybe this is the first time they're hearing that information. And so one question you could ask, or have you talked to your professor about what's on the exam? Or do you know where to get help if you need it? And so you can say, if you don't know what to do, call 1212, right? Or go and, talk to your professor, or go to the Student Success Center. That's not what it's called anymore. But the tutoring center, right? But just asking them questions if they're open to it, to get them thinking about how they're going to plan for their success when they get back from the Thanksgiving holiday. And so as a professor, if you could flip to the next slide. Here are some things that like Randy mentioned, your students can do. The first thing would be create a game plan for success. And so actually using a calendar to block out time of when you're going to study for this exam, or when you're going to go to tutoring or to the writing center or someplace that you can study for the exam, right? So what is your game plan? Exams, you should know when your exams are. Where there's a QR code at the beginning of this presentation. Your instructors should have given you information in the syllabus about what the final assignment is, whether it's a presentation, if it's a multiple choice exam. Like, there should be something somewhere with information about when your final exam is, right? So what are you going to do leading up to that, right? So I like to begin with the end in mind, right? If I know I'm taking the exam on this day, I know I have these other exams on this day and this day and this day. What am I going to do to help me prepare for all of them, right? Cramming the night before is not it. Trying to figure out, though, what blocks of time you have to study for your math test and your history test and your chemistry test, right? That will help you be successful in the end. Here's a tip, thinking like a professor. And so what I mean by that is, if the course is say about theology, or it's your philosophy course, what is the overarching purpose of the course? Right? If you think about that, and you think about what the big picture is, then you can track back to what are some things that are likely to be on that final exam. If it's cumulative, if it's not cumulative, like what does the professor really want you to take home? What's that message that they want you to get? And then that can help you get in the frame of mind of that instructor, and maybe help you be successful on that exam. If you think about what you're not necessarily good at, like maybe you have taken 4 exams throughout the course of the semester, and you're not really good at, specific content related to, I don't know, something that you just don't understand, right? So, and that's going to be on the exam. That's where you need the extra help. That's where you call in, go see your professor in office hours. That's where you go to the tutoring center. That's where you go to your study group. But identify those areas where you have opportunities to do better. If it's, maybe application questions or essays, or try to practice those before you actually get to the exam. And then last but not least, the best way to know if you actually know something, or to tell if you know something, is if you try to explain it to somebody else, right? So if you have a difficult concept, maybe you're trying to explain, I don't know, how to calculate return on investment or net present value. I'm thinking of finance concepts because I work in a business school. If you can explain it to your grandmother, or you can explain it to your little sister, then you really understand that concept. And so try to break down some of those concepts that you maybe struggle with a little bit more, and explain it to someone who doesn't know anything about it. And if they understand it, that means that you really got it, and you would be able to apply it to the exam. And so those are just my tips. Take care of yourself. Don't cram. Have a game plan. and you'll do well, right? This is just one time, out of the next 4 years that you have exams, and you need to prepare yourself for success. I'll say it that way. Thank you, Torian.
Awesome. No, thank you, Dr. Regina. I'm glad we were able to get some insight from both a parent and a professor in a combo. And this has been very insightful, especially that you mentioned beginning with the end in mind. I think that's a really good point to take home. And now we'll switch gears to let Ann Hyman discuss student accessibility services and serves as the director of student accessibility services. So she would be the point of contact and the one who you want to listen to concerning this. Ann?
Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. As Torian said, Ann Hyman. I've been at Creighton for just about 5 short months, but doing the higher education and accommodation game for about 13 years, between K through 12 and higher ed. So very knowledgeable about accommodations and process. So I just wanted to take some time to kind of refamiliarize if you have a student or you are a student who is getting accommodations, or if you've never heard of this, what it all is. So Student Accessibility Services, or SAS, provides accommodations to students who have disabilities who qualify for accommodations to level that playing field. So this could be some a disability impairment that affects learning, reading, writing, sleeping, pretty much any major life activity. So that could be a physical impairment, it could be mental health, it could be a learning disability, all sorts of different varieties of qualifications that students, diagnoses that they could have to get some extra support. And that extra support is through accommodations. So those kind of generally level those playing fields. So if you have, let's say, ADHD and you cannot focus to save your life during exams, but you know, because you get distracted by everyone else in the room, then maybe that's your limitation, and accommodation to kind of level that playing field is a reduced distraction space to take your exam. So it's just really kind of to level that playing field to make sure that you have every opportunity to access what Creighton has academically as well as programming. So that's kind of SAS in a little bit of a nutshell. If you or your student is registered with SAS and have accommodations, we are requesting them to have their finals scheduled by November 21st through our Clockwork portal. They're very familiar with it. They schedule all their exams through Clockwork. So we are just trying to prepare as best we can to make sure that we can meet everyone's accommodations, so that we are preparing a couple weeks before. And then if you or your student are like, oh, I didn't know this office existed, my student's been struggling, this would be great. Then students can come and meet with a SAS staff member or do the intake process at any point in their Creighton career. And so that is through our intake process. The paperwork starts on our website. You can go to the student success and then dwindle down to SAS, and our information is there. And so we say start the process as soon as possible, so that, you know, you're not kind of fighting back from poor grades, or you're trying to get in right before finals. So just kind of think about that. But at any time, a student can register to use accommodations. So even if it's a temporary, so you break your right arm and you are right-handed and you need some support in class, that can also count in student accessibility. So just have those reminders of, or if for some reason your student or yourself are hospitalized for a really long time, between the Office of Student and Family Programming and SAS, we kind of coordinate to make sure that you're getting the support that you need. So we're kind of a well-rounded office of support for kind of any kind of impairment that is happening. So remind your students, November 21st is a really important date if they want to ensure they get their accommodations for their final exams. That's all I have. Thanks, Torian.
Thank you, Ann. Alrighty. Thanks for sharing the accommodations process. I think quite a few students could benefit from that resource. So hopefully some families have taken advantage of noting that down. And we will hear, last but not least, from Olivia Dishno, who serves as one of our assistant academic coaches here at the Academic Success Office. And Olivia has obtained a graduate degree with us and has been with us for 3 years and counting. Olivia?
Yeah, hi. I am Olivia, like Torian said. I did just graduate in May, so I think I have a little bit more of a unique perspective as far as the student side of finals. I know that it's a very stressful time and students kind of fixate on, we don't have a true dead week, what are we going to do? But what I really truly admire about Creighton is the environment that the faculty, the staff, even the students and organizations and clubs on campus do to facilitate having the best finals week that you possibly can have. So even though we don't have an official dead week, I do have to say a lot of professors do use that week prior to finals to kind of help the students review. Some might even cancel class, some might have an exam, but it really just depends on the professor. But what I think is great is professors in particular offer more office hours more often than not. The attached tutors to your classes also offer extra study hours. Our office also offers extra study hours, and I'm always in my office for drop-ins to help people whenever they need. So I think a best way to start with finals is obviously a great study schedule, and that can be super specific. So scoping out certain areas on campus, what I do have to say is SCUT, the student center, they open up the ballroom, and that's an extra study space, which is great for students to have kind of body doubling with other students around them working for a common goal, basically. And it's all independent work, but it's a great place to have more study spaces, because sometimes the biggest stress of finals is being able to find an effective place to get your work done. And so the Success Center is open. We offer extra hours. We're an open space as well. And just really finding a place where you think you will thrive as a student to study best. Another thing, when I was an undergrad living on campus, I was really worried about my sleep. And a biggest thing is, you're living in a residence hall, you have no control over other people's behavior. But a great thing that Creighton does, and it's pretty unique, is we do have quiet hours during finals. So residence halls do set a time at night, and it's normally 9-10 p.m. where it is quiet, dead hours, where you're not supposed to be blasting music or anything like that. That can be a common issue. So that was really helpful to kind of check that out of my mind and not be a worry when I was a student. Another thing that Creighton offers is Coco. She's very famous on our campus, and I truly love her. I would use her as a study break. She's very busy during this time of year, so you'll see her all over. But I'd go give Coco a few pets, take my 10-15 minute study break, and then kind of feel refreshed. And like I said before, the professors are there as a resource for you. No matter what point you are in your studying, don't be worried that they're going to judge you, be worried about you, or anything like that. Email them if you have questions. Don't be afraid. They're there for you, and that is what they want to do. They don't want, I think a professor's worst fear is going into finals the weeks prior and having 0 emails in their inbox about questions on concepts, because that means either the student is waiting till the night before, or that the student's just not worried about the class. And I think you showing them that you're taking the initiative to email them makes them excited. Also, Creighton organizations on campus, like I said, clubs, they offer like nice treats. They'll be tabling outside of the KFC. They'll be tabling on, if the weather's nice, they'll be tabling out on the mall in Harper, to give students just like a nice break, a nice socialization. Wow. To help with that as well. But yes, kind of what I want to go into next is what I learned from finals week, and hopefully everyone here can learn from my mistakes. Overall, I would say the biggest thing as a student is setting a realistic study schedule. And that's something you can do with me in my office, in the Success Hubs with me and my coworker. We work with students to make those realistic study schedules. One of the things that I recommend is don't make any major changes in your life during during finals. That means diet, sleeping habits, exercising habits. My mistake my freshman year was thinking that I could wake up at 6 a.m., start studying, study till like 9 p.m. at night, forget my exercise, start eating and drinking things that I normally didn't. I discovered energy drinks during my first finals week, and then I was wondering why I was anxious, unable to concentrate. So don't make those mistakes like I did. I think another thing that we really emphasize is having yourself set up and having a game plan before you leave for Thanksgiving break. This way you can really enjoy your Thanksgiving break with your family, friends, and know what you're getting yourself into coming back from that with that reset. So with that, when I say making a game plan, make sure you have all your study guides already filled out. Make sure that you have all your study materials and you know what your professors are expecting for you on the test. That's what's really important. And that's how you can gauge your study schedule. And to make your study schedule specific, make it sure like it's like during this block of time, you're specifically studying these concepts instead of in general, I'm going to be studying Gen Bio or I'm going to be studying econ, to give yourself really a honed in idea of what's your goal during this time. As a student, what I started doing the last couple of years was what was really helpful is finals, each final exam, it's set for an hour and 40 minutes, which is longer than a normal exam time. Our normal exam times are normally about an hour and 15, like the normal class. So that endurance is a little bit different. So what I always recommend is what I started doing is in my study schedule, I would study a specific topic or class for an hour and 40 minutes to make sure that your brain's able to effectively, actively study for that length of time. So when it comes towards that exam, at that hour 15 mark, your brain's not tired. You're still able to actively think about all the concepts and things like that. That was a big game changer in my study habits of doing an hour, 40 minutes, taking a break, and then working on something else for an hour and 40 minutes. Also simulating your test environment as much as possible, something that I highly recommend. I started studying in the exact class and the exact seat that I would be taking the exam in because all the classrooms are normally open during finals to study as well. So if I had a Gen Chem exam, I was going to be sitting in that seat just so I knew the environment and my body was used to that environment come time of the exam. I also want to re-emphasize is it's great to study with other people, but I would not let your friends dictate your study habits. At this point, you should feel you need to be confident in what works for you and what doesn't. And even if you're not confident, figuring that out in these next couple of weeks with your study guides. I made the mistake my freshman year of the week before my Gen Bio class, I realized my friend was reading the entire textbook front to back, and that's what worked for her. So I started doing that and it was ineffective for me. So just knowing that you don't need to start doing habits and comparing yourself to others if you've found what has worked for you. If you have any concerns or anything like that, I would say make sure that you're talking to your professors. Unless it's an email 9 p.m. before an 8 a.m. test, they're not going to be judging you. I cannot emphasize more than emailing your professors. And also, most importantly, make sure you're hanging out with friends, still including your socialization, still including exercise, giving your brain that break. I think every single day when I studied for finals, I sat in an hour and a half to 2 hours with friends every day, just to make sure that I was getting my normal part of my day and I was able to get out of the library, get out of any more of a crammed environment, just so I can get my mind off of school, because finals is a marathon, not a sprint. It doesn't make or break you at all. It does not make or break your Creighton career or any career you're going to have in the future, but it is important, and you want to make sure that you're feeding your brain the right things and you're making sure that you're having that great environment for yourself. So it's very possible. So many students do it, and you don't need to really, you don't need to stress. You just need to have a game plan. So yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Olivia, for sharing that. I think that, getting your mind off of school from time to time to hang out with friends, body doubling, and not switching up your lifestyle too much is super important. Getting into a stressful or potentially stressful time like finals may have students wanting to try out a bunch of new things. So I think these are some good guidelines to follow. And then just knowing what works for you and not, just doing what works for everyone. So thank you for sharing those things. Alrighty, now that we've heard from all of our panelists, we'll move forward to the Q&A portion of the panel. So if you have any questions for us, I see that a couple have come in. Feel free to add those into the Q&A feature at the bottom where you were tuning in from. And I will go ahead and start reading some of the ones that we have here internally, as well as some of the ones that come in through the Q&A feature. And if we do happen to run out of time before finishing all the questions, we will follow up with you all within around the next week by email now that we have your information to answer any questions that you may have. All righty, so let's start off. I'll go ahead and just start off with you, Olivia, since you had just presented. And can you talk a bit more about the tutors that are attached to classes? Do they hold regular TA sessions? Yeah, could you talk a bit more to that?
Yeah, so a lot of the major classes that a lot of students take that the Success Center has as well, they'll have attached tutors with the class, and normally that's a tutor that the professor specifically reaches out to tutor that class because they did well in the class. So these are other upperclassmen students. A lot of their hours are normally posted in the syllabus of their classes of what the attached tutor hours are, and those are normally normal on a regular basis of like, Grace is going to be meeting in this location for an hour and a half during these 2 days at this time. And so that can be normally found in the syllabus of a lot of professors' classes. I do know that during that our dead week period, or that week before finals, that can change a little bit just because the tutors are also students. So their regular hours might not be the same exact thing during that time. So normally they will send out announcements in Blueline. They'll send out announcements or emails or anything like that if their hours are changing. But those attached tutors are there to help you with that specific professor, and they can give you inside tips and tricks of how that professor teaches and how that professor will ask questions and kind of how to gauge that class specifically. So the Success Center offers drop-in hours that are 6 to 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, but that tutor might have not had your specific professor, but they did do well in that course. So that's a little bit of a difference of you're able to get the inside scoop on that specific professor via the student who took their exact class.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that.
I'm going to jump in on one thing. I just added all of the tutoring schedules are also on the academic success page, and I just added that to the chat for everybody. If you want to click on that, and if you scroll down, you can see the schedules for how to make a one-on-one appointment, for attached tutoring, for drop-in tutoring, and for supplemental instruction. So which courses are covered and when the tutors are available. And I'll reiterate that the last day for tutoring is the Friday before finals. So it's December 8th.
Awesome. And kind of beating to the same drum of that tune, for office hours, Dr. Regina, are office hours usually up until December 8th as well, up until like the threshold of finals, or does that really depend between professor to professor?
I think that really depends on professor to professor. My office hours end the last week of classes. But I am open and willing to meet with students whenever they need. And so I encourage students to speak specifically to the professors they want to meet with and ask if they are going to have standard office hours after the last day of class, which is December 1st, I think. It's that Friday. I'm sorry, what is that, Randy?
Yes, and that's what I meant to say, December 1st. That's the last day.
Yes,
Okay.
The last day of class is December 1st, right? And so finals week starts December 4th. And so I think the 3rd is that Monday. And so you just reach out to your professor specifically and ask if they are available for office hours. 9 times out of 10, they will say yes. And just know that we are all here. We want you to succeed, and we will do what we can to help you. And so just reach out.
Thank you, Dr. Regina. the other question that we have, this one is for Olivia. Could you better define the quiet hours in the residence halls? Does this end at 9 a.m. or when does it usually end?
I don't remember the specifics, but I do remember it starting about 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Normally, the
Okay.
quiet hours are a little bit later, and they're not as strict with it. But
Okay.
during finals, I'm pretty sure it started at 9 p.m. and then it would go till about 7 a.m. And that's just to ensure that no one's going to be blasting music. I mean, residence halls normally on weekdays aren't rowdy or anything like that, but especially like the weekend before finals and stuff like that, the RAs will definitely stress it. And you could ask your specific RA in your residence hall or on your floor to define the hours a little bit more. It's been a while since I lived on campus, but I'm pretty sure it's like 8 p.m. to like 7 a.m. Normally they try to keep it pretty silent, which is very nice because you can ensure a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep and hopefully less anxiety for your exam. Yeah.
Awesome. And the next question I have will be for Randy. How best have you found to prep for a foreign language final? For the student, it's their biggest worry if they get a word mixed up. He has met with a tutor in prep already, but still has worries.
I think it's probably similar to studying for other kinds of exams. So think about it like, how would you study if you were worried that you would forget a formula for your math exam or whatever? It's really practice, 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 practice. With like vocabulary terms and that kind of stuff, you have to have constant exposure to that stuff over time. So you want to start now. And if you have a list of like vocabulary terms, instead of thinking about, I'm going to sit down at one point and just memorize the whole list, that's not going to work. You need to start it one day and then like roll through those like 20 or 30 minutes a day from now until finals, and you will find yourself actually absorbing that information. You won't have one time where you say, I did it and I'm done. That's not going to happen. You want to do small pieces starting now, and going all the way to finals. The way that we remember things is again by exposure over time, and it's not a one-time thing, and then being able to use it. So if you're starting that now, then you'll have some opportunities to use it in class, use it on in homework assignments and on other assessments. So starting now, little bits every day, repetition.
I like that. Learning it over time. Thank you. And this next question is for you. Can you share more about what happens after a student fills out the intake form and how long it may take?
Yeah, those are really great questions. So after a student completes the intake form, they get an automated email that has them schedule a time to meet with a SAS staff member. That's part of the interactive process that we have to go through to determine appropriate accommodations, do they meet qualifications. That meeting is generally about 30 minutes. It's scheduled for 45 so that we can make sure that if it goes over, that we have good amount of time with the student to make sure we're setting them up with their best plan. I will say that depending on when a student is filling out that intake form, it ebbs and flows of how busy it is in the office to get the accommodations through. And so there's 3 staff members who do intakes. And so depending on our availability and how many students are trying to get an intake meeting, it can take anywhere from 2 to multiple days to get in to one of those intake meetings. And then after that, for exam wise, if you're trying to sneak one in before break or get it in before finals and things like that, really pay attention because for finals, we need a lot more time to get those accommodations implemented. But on a typical, we need at least 5 business days to get the testing accommodations in place. Just because we have to work with our exams team to make sure that if it's a blue line, that the extended time is added, the professors are notified, and that the student has had time to talk with their faculty, and they have time to schedule with our testing center. So it's kind of an ebb and flow, but gold standard is anywhere from 2 to 10 days to kind of get through that process.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, this next question is for you, Randy. What is a number that students can call with help with the study? And are professors, TAs, are they available at all times?
So professors, TAs, and Office of Academic Success tutors are like different. So TAs, you would need to find that out through through your professor or through your course, and that information is probably in your syllabus to see if those TAs are available for support. And then the number to call, like for studies, what I wasn't. Let me look at the question. The number to call for study support. What was it, Torian? Can you repeat it?
Yes, yes. The number that they can call to help with study.
Oh,
So
so I think if you're looking for help with study, like from like our academic coaches or our tutors or Olivia and Becca in the Success Hubs, I just put the link to our Office of Academic Success webpage, and all of that stuff is there, so they can click on those links. You can also, if a student wants to like talk to someone or see someone, that's when you can stop by the Success Desk, and they will get you the information that you need if it's just easier that way. So you can ask them about making an appointment with the tutor, and they can help with that. They can show you how to pull up the tutoring schedule and find drop-in hours. They can point you in the direction of the Success Hubs. So you've got lots of options. You could also email, students can email create success at creighton.edu, and that goes to our overall student success file, and that's looked at every day. So again, we can get you that information in lots of different ways. Website start and then 1212, or stop by the office.
awesome. Thank you, Randy. Oh,
I just
go ahead.
want to mention briefly, not all courses have a tutor. And it depends, or have a teaching assistant. So I teach in a business school, and I used to teach a junior level class or a sophomore level class. I've never had a teaching assistant. And so I think classes like economics or accounting or finance, probably the more quantitative classes in the business school have teaching assistants, but classes like, I teach a class called Training and Development for human resources majors now, and that's usually a senior class. I do not have a TA. So I speak with your student because they just may not have that offer to them. So theology, psychology, I'm not sure if those are classes that would have a TA. So just know that it's not universal.
And it's probably, I think, Regina, would you agree? It's probably less common than it is common. Just
Yes.
the science classes, I think, have them, but it's less common.
Yeah, for TA, probably biology, chemistry, physics.
Yeah.
But in the business schools, none of our faculty, I happen to be the department chair for marketing and management, none of my faculty have TAs.
I do want to mention something that we've been pushing a little bit more this year is coordinated study groups. So me and my coworker Becca, we look at that Success Center email every single most days, and there is something on our website that you can fill out a survey if you're looking for a coordinated study group, and we our job is kind of coordinating you with other students in your class to kind of form a study group with your peers. So me and Becca would kind of be there for the first meeting, kind of set expectations of what you're trying to do. And then that can be like a weekly meeting with other students in your class, especially for first years. It helps you get connected with students that are in your class that might not be your friends, because sometimes you can't be effective with your friends. So it'll be people in your class who also have shown interest. So we normally reach out to the professor, let them know it's happening, and then we'll reach out to the entire class. And based off of the results and like the responses we get, we'll coordinate with you with 4 or 5 other students to kind of get that ball rolling with connecting you to other people and kind of learning how to like just shoot ideas back and forth about different concepts you're learning in class as well, for those classes that don't have those attached tutors, and for the classes that also do have the attached tutors as well.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. The last question that I have, and this will be for Dr. Taylor and for Olivia, and really anyone can answer this as well. But what's something that you would add to your care package? So for you, Dr. Taylor, for your son, what would be something that would be ideal for him as a student, whether on his side where he's like, Mom, just give me some money, or on your side where you're like, hey, as a professor, I think it's important that you get a deck of flashcards or something like that. And then for you, Olivia, just in your experience, whether you've gotten any care packages or not, what do you think would be great ones to have?
I can start. So my son likes food. I think lots of boys or young men in college love food. So his favorite snacks, I think would be helpful. He also really enjoys video games. And so something video game themed, whether it's um really, it's just to show that that I care and I'm thinking about him, right? So like a
Right.
t-shirt or like a figurine, I don't know, just something that's video game themed, that he's like, oh, thank you, not that he will ever say that, but thank you, I mean, um something to say that, oh, okay, my mom has thought about me and this was a thoughtful gift. But food goes straight to his heart, so I know that's going to be helpful for him. But just knowing your student, I think if it's, your student loves popcorn, some popcorn, your student loves, I mean, when I was in college, like, oh, that was many 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 decades ago, but a CD, you know that would have been something thoughtful, yeah, something like that. Flashcards, or what do students use now? What is it called? Quizlets, or that kind of stuff. I do not endorse. Um, Maybe Olivia, you can give some tips on that, but um, just money, the things like that. Just know your student.
Yeah, definitely piggybacking off of that. As a student, I came from far away. I came from California. So I know that like finals is the last stretch before you get to go home for a while. And normally for me, that was me not being home for like 5, 6 months. So my mom would always pack like the things from like the stores that we don't have here that I had there, like the snacks that were from home, kind of just be like, okay, I have something from home here, and then like I'll be home soon. Because the last couple days of finals, you're like kind of just over it. You're like, I want to go home, like I'm over this. So kind of like just something to help push through. Food was the way to my heart. I would say I would not recommend anything school related. So even if it's like flashcards, that kind of thing, normally I was just like, Mom, that's just you telling me I need to study more, like kind of thing. So I always recommended like, or my mom one time gave me like a little pass to Power Life here because she knows I like to do yoga. So she's like, oh, here's like a 1 class pass so you can take a study break and go do this or something like that, or like something dance related because that's what I like. But yeah, definitely same thing as Dr. Taylor, just like knowing your student. My mom knew me in and out. She knew that if she gave me like anything school related, I'd be like, Mom, you're telling me I need to study and I just studied 8 hours today, like I don't need that. So food was it for me, or just like a little tiny gift card to be like, hey, go get food with your friends or something like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for just answering all these questions, and thank you all for attending this Bluejay Family Live panel. I had a great time just talking about, preparing for finals and making sure that we are all ready. So I will just conclude this and say thank you all again for joining us, and go Blue Jays.